Hangouts Air is live.
Okay.
Welcome everyone. I guess we're live. What a day, huh? Well, here you are, hanging out with the FT After Hours. I don't know where to start. Originally, we were actually going to be doing a little review for the new Durafly Tundra, and Stuart from Hobbyking was going to join us. Everything was all set up, ready to go. And we're not really sure what happened. Yep. We couldn't get a hold of him. Something was going on. I don't know. So we thought, we're here. Everything's set up. We'll just kind of hang out a little bit. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Maybe we'll get the chat up. We can chat with you guys a little bit, see what's going on. But anyway, we're trying out a new system here anyway, live on YouTube. So if you want to go to the FT After Hours YouTube page, we should have the live stream is up and rolling. And we can actually see Andre. I'll flip you over there. Hey, Andre, what's going on over there?
Evening from Ottawa. Hello.
So got you joining us with the Tundra in the background. So here we are. We're live hanging out, and hopefully we got some chat going on. So I guess we'll figure it out later. We're definitely going to try to get Stuart back on and try to pick his brain about the Tundra. We're going to do a whole review on it, talk about it and everything. So that should be coming up in the future. So we're just here hanging out. We're down at the FT studio hanging out. We haven't been doing any flying. The weather has just been complete garbage. Yep. Windy. Now, actually, today was probably the first decent day we had. The sun was out. Yeah. Some low wind. But I know I spent a lot of time down here today.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we were fiddling with some technology.
Yes. So hello to our 11 viewers we got right now. And actually, probably what this is, we don't even know if, this is going to be live and it's going to be on the FT After Hours YouTube channel, but we don't even know if we're just going to put it out for a regular podcast. So you guys just might be hanging out with us just for this. This may not even go out for a podcast. So, but I know, Andre, you have been doing some flying for a while. So tell us about, you were out, and it was funny. I seen some of your pictures, and it's definitely cold because I seen the snow pants and the boots and the gloves.
Oh yeah, at a minimum. Yeah. And it was what was really interesting was Saturday, as we were waiting for the temperatures to come up, I actually went through and I looked at some of last year's post, and it was within a couple of days of when I tanked the EFX Racer and froze my hands up. So I basically said, okay, I'm going to wait till it warms up. Lessons learned. And there's, anything I fly from this point on, I have my transmitter mitt. But Saturday, the winds were below 10 kilometers and the temperature was like -10, and it was clear sky. And it was just some of the photos I actually managed to capture, even with my iPhone. Actually, it was cold enough that the iPhone shut down during some of the photos because the LCD was so cold and everything. But yeah, I got out for like 3 hours, I think, which is that's a nice one for the first time in a while, being able to just burn through pack after pack. I crashed like 2 airplanes though. Not crashed, just bad launches and broke them up a bit. But the Tundra was there with me, and also I flew the Pawnee and, of course, the Skipper. So they were really good to get out and just burn off some cells, because that's something I hadn't been able to do in a while. And it was really focused the weekend before. I was really focused in on trying to get some content with the Tundra.
How is that Skipper? I mean, I know your dad had it last year, I believe, and then you picked one up because it was on sale. And I've seen you've been flying the days. So what's that thing like flying in the wintertime?
That actually, I put the video up. I stuck the camera on the Mobius on it yesterday, and it's like a jet. The thing, it's so maneuverable. And then, of course, you just belly land it the entire time. It's actually sitting there way in the background of the video. But it flies really well, and I tend to fly it at like, medium to high rates, and you can just actually roll the thing through the air. It's like throwing a spiral football, and it's I want to FPV it actually.
No kidding.
Just if I can make up a canopy and replace that thing, then I might just use that Mobius FPV dock and try that.
So
But
it's definitely a good wintertime plane then, I take it, because the takeoff and landing's off snow, and you can probably keep your hands in the mitt.
Yep.
Exactly. So there's a video when I flew it. It was a good couple of minutes of flying, and it was a really nice solid flight. And yeah, my hands are in the transmitter mitt the entire time, and it runs on they spec it out at like a 1500 3S. So I'm like, no, I'll just throw my 22s in there, and it goes, and it's got such a wide envelope for flying performance. Like you can go full crazy aerobatics, or you can slow it down. So I was just doing low passes and everything, and the whole underside is, you just line it with some good reinforced tape, What's really cool is they came out with the XL, which is a really big version. A couple of guys have those, and they'll run those on 4S. So, and this one's just a simple 3S. But I could imagine this one running on 4S very successfully and just have a good time.
So the other question is, I know you've had the Pawnee for what now? Has it almost been a couple months?
Yeah, what was that? That was October, November kind of thing when the E-flite finally released it, and I got my hands on it. So, and yes, I flew that yesterday and on skis. And I'm coming to terms with the airplane, but it still doesn't fly like I was expecting it to fly.
Mm-hmm. Now, what were you expecting, and what are you getting out of it? Because I still love the looks of the plane. The Pawnee is just a beautiful plane.
It's almost like, okay, I've gotten used to the landing, and I've really gotten aggressive with dropping the flaps and everything. But even like yesterday on my first flight, I think when I was sitting on the snow and everything, it still, when it took off, it still flew a little funny, and I'm not sure if that was the AS3X wasn't level enough when I initialized because of the snow. And so I brought it in, reset, pull the battery, reset it, and it flew fine after that. So every once in a while, and me and AS3X, we just get along.
Yeah, right.
But every once in a while, it will do just something odd. But I've really started pushing that airplane hard. And so yesterday, I was really gunning at it, changing the rates up, and just being really aggressive with it. And one time, I know it pitched over on me pretty quickly, and I just firewalled it and said, pull up and recover and everything. This wasn't one of those, drop the flaps, do a 180 and land short. And that was the issue I was having initially too, is I couldn't make the thing. It's so floaty that you're doing an approach, and as you're flying by, if you're flying into the wind, it's just slowly picking up. It's going up and up and up and up. And I'm like, whenever I did the flaps, I aggressively added in my my down elevator and stuff like this, because it's like, just so you're coming in on with the flaps, and the nose it's just on this, like, you're almost like, I wouldn't say 45 degrees, maybe like 25-degree incline. And you come in, and the last second, just touch it down. So I've gotten used to its slow speed stall, because even yesterday, first time coming in really slow, I still managed to plop it down with about a foot off the deck. But I think those skis also help slow it down.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. When you hit that snow, it definitely slows it down.
But I'm talking about airspeed too, because
Yep.
Because when I was flying it, even with the tires, you come in and land, and you're trying to do a touchdown, and it just keeps going. It just floats along. So, just getting used to that phenomenon, that sensation with the airplane. A couple of guys on the, and I'm paying attention to the RC groups, because a couple of them are trying different ESCs, and more particular, most of them are talking about getting rid of the 3-bladed prop, just for efficiency, and just it's not a fast airplane by any sense of the imagination.
Right.
But I'd like to see, not that I want to go fast with it, but I want to see the recovery speed on the motor, and I think that's a victim of the 3-bladed prop.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
So you get into trouble, and you want to be able to punch it, and just climb out of whatever situation you're in. So I'm thinking that's why I'm going to fly that 3-bladed until I break it, I guess. So I'm thinking that's it's probably going to be a 2-bladed prop plane very soon. And that's just we know that the 3-bladed blades on 3-bladed 3-bladed planes. Oh, it's late. Hey, they just don't do the job for efficiency and everything. So I think a nice, it's probably going to be like a 13-inch prop by that time we can do the conversion. But I'll let the guys on the RC groups do all the testing, because a lot of them that's what they love doing and finding out. So
yeah, as you've been reading, is it they switching over to a 2-bladed prop much?
There's been a few, and I think a lot of them do the standard thing where they punch up the ESC right away. It's that 15 spec motor that most of the people, and there's still a lot of people going on about that issue, and that when the initial mistake was made on the spec, and people's impressions of what the aircraft was supposed to be, wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So.
Right.
So, but I mean, I'm flying it. I thought about adding a taller landing gear, but like I spent the entire, I ran through 2 cells through it yesterday, 2 packs, and just got used to the approach speed and stuff. I'm still not comfortable enough. Like, if you look at the videos between what I've flown with the Tundra and my other aircraft and this one, I'm still not. There's always this little bit of hesitation in the aircraft, if that makes sense. So you're turning and you can see stuff. You can see, I think you see the AS3X trying to correct and combat me just enough that I'm not, like I'll fly the Tundra within, a couple feet of myself, right? And the other aircraft, I'm like, yeah, I'm giving it a little bit more space because I'm just worried about it doing something. And so I still wish I had a switch to turn off the AS3X, to be honest.
Does it fly more like a warbird?
Yes. Like but even a warbird, I think that's where I think the prop, if I change that prop out, and it might just move along a little nicer. I mean, it's quite content and happy just to go along, but then if you start really pushing it in the corners and everything, it just feels a little it feels a little unsure about itself at times. So
that's interesting. What do you think of it? I mean, Wayne, you've seen it, and not for you, don't think?
I don't. Me personally, I don't like the style. But
you don't like it?
Nah.
No.
I think if someone was looking for something from, I think a lot of people would, if they put the same attention to, say, like the Sport Cub, even the Sport Cub 2, and put lights into it, I think it would have been a nice plane. Because my initial concerns was, especially, Chris was asking me, have you ever come to a point where you say you'd sell a plane? And this one probably shot really high to the list of, I put in a lot of, it cost a lot of money to buy and everything, and it didn't wow me. Mm-hmm. It hasn't wowed me. It hasn't wowed me like the Tundra has wowed me,
Right.
Now, the fact that I can throw skis on the aircraft and go for flying in the winter, that's probably the only reason it stayed in the fleet,
Mm-hmm. And that kind of brought me up. I know we've talked about it a little bit. I got the regular Sport Cub, and again, out of the box, and maybe that was kind of the market they were kind of pushing for. It was very, very docile, yes. Stock out of the box.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, if they would have put a quite a bit bigger motor on there, made it set up for a 2200 3-cell, kind of actually make it just a miniature version of the Carbon Z Cub, where you got that power, you can do what you want to do, you got the full flaps and everything, and just make it more versatile. I think that plane would appeal to a bigger audience personally, because even mine, and it's not hard to do, is all you really have to do is upgrade the ESC and change the prop on it, and it really, really woke up that plane, and it's a completely different plane now set up like that. But even if you would have set it up, from the factory with a bigger motor and prop and everything, changed it out and made it more versatile, definitely, I think it would have. Then you would have been kind of competing with the Fun Cub, and now with the Tundra, it would be right in that mix. Where just bone stock, like right out of the box, no. But don't get me wrong, somebody who wants to move into kind of a high wing trainer, it's very good. But I think after flying it, even myself, because I at first was just going to leave it stock. Within the first time, Dave, we were done flying it, I think I told you right away, we got to upgrade this thing because it's just not there. So I don't know. I think they kind of hit their mark a little bit with that plane, where it could have been a lot better and appealed, to more people. Maybe not the next podcast, but here coming up, we'll get into some new products. But one thing I know we've talked about too is Horizon seem to be right on that verge of 1100 millimeter, 1200 millimeter.
Yeah.
Brought some warbirds out. They've been 1100 millimeter for a long time. Slowly brought out a couple of the 1200 millimeter warbirds. I don't know whether to try to compete with like FMS and some of these other brands. So we think they were just trying to see which people preferred. And now they just brought out the new 1200 millimeter Corsair and released that. And I have to say, just looking at it and checking it out and looking at the specs, it looks almost exactly like an FMS warbird. So now are they going to stick with that now and try to get away from the 1100 millimeter? I don't know, but see, my opinion is I think Horizon's always been known for that 1100. I think they should have stuck with that a little bit. Threw in some more belly landers and keep in that size, and I think it's a good size. It's they run great on 3-cell 2200s. You can even upgrade the motors a little bit. Still run a 3-cell 2200. They fly great. Wayne, you've seen enough of them. So it'll be interesting to see down the road a little bit where this 1200 millimeter goes. And again, I think we talked about it before, but I think they missed the mark. Their 1200 series only runs off of 3-cell. That's the only thing they're set up for. Right. Where a lot of these other manufacturers are going, either you can run it on 3-cell, or if you want to step it up, fly scale on a 3-cell and have fun or whatever, but you want to throw a 4-cell in there and really ramp it up, have some unlimited, put the 4-cell in and go.
Right. Yeah.
It's a really good versatile plane that like the P40 that Hobbyking has out.
You mean the one that's behind me?
Yeah. My problem is I don't want to buy something like that, and then now I have to spend even more money to upgrade it to where it should have been right out of the box.
Exactly.
And I mean, because this stuff is not cheap.
Right.
And it is what it is.
Yeah.
But, come on.
Right. And, as see my Park Zone and E-flite warbird fleet, I think every one of them that I own has been upgraded with a little
none
bit
of
bigger.
them are stock.
No, none of them.
No.
And some of them I thought, I'm going to buy it. I'm flying it stock. Right. It is what it is. And I just, after a month or so, you're like, okay, I'm bored. I got to do something, tinker around. So again, I think, if they see the bigger picture where you can fly it either or, again, you're appealing to a bigger market. Somebody like, oh man, I love that airplane. I only fly scale. Put the 3-cell in it and be completely happy. Right. He's your guy that likes to firewall that thing 100 mile an hour, a foot off the deck. He puts his 4-cell in it and he's perfectly happy. So I don't know. It's I think they're kind of missing the boat a little bit on that. But hopefully down the road, we can get Matt Andron back on and talk to him a little bit and see maybe what their thinking is on that, or where they're going to go. Right. I don't know. So, but they do have a few new products out that we'll get to probably next podcast or whatever. We'll talk about that stuff. But it'll be interesting to see for sure.
I know. I'm thinking this year my big expense will be a whack of 4S 2200s, and exactly those reasons. Actually, I'm probably even going to go as far as picking up a new ESC there for the Durafly P51, so it can run the 2200s just like the Mustangs or the P40 and stuff like this, and a few other aircraft, just because then I have the same battery pack. Nothing wrong with the 3S setup, but like I said, I want that extra little push, and I'm hoping that eventually I'll pick up another warbird or two, but not too much this year.
Yeah, and I think here, the way things have been going, I think, for years and years, a 3-cell 2200, that's been the standard, and now I think it's starting, as the price of the batteries and everything are coming down, it's starting to be that the 4-cell 2200 is starting to be the new norm, I think, personally. So, I don't know.
Well, you get the benefits of that. You're not loading the pack so hard, right? You're getting, the current and power and everything, and you get that flexibility. And then, you don't have to fly it around at, wide open throttle. But if you get into trouble, you've got that power on tap to pull the aircraft around, which is what we want.
Right. Right.
Now, on the Tundra, I flew that on the 3S, and I happened to have the A specs, which is the batteries that Stuart recommended to me for starting off with the EFX Racer. And that plane loves that battery pack, and they're a really good sell. I mean, they're super expensive for what they are, but I could hang that thing off the prop like he was telling us that we could do. And so yesterday, after a couple of flights, after I was really warmed up with it, I put it into, higher rates, and I was just banging around the field and just having a really good blast with the aircraft. So here's a question about something like this, Chris, though. I was asked already a couple times, is this a good, second plane or something like that? And my response was no. I would say third or fourth, depending on how good of a pilot you are, because the tendency is eventually you're going to get yourself in trouble with it and need that skill behind it to recover. I mean, it's a very visual airplane. I had no issues tracking this thing, even with the sun yesterday. Well, actually, I had the sun to my back most of the time flying with. But I think you could get yourself into trouble really quick by doing some really fun maneuvers. So what do you think?
Yeah, I'll have to agree for a second, unless you're really, really proficient, for your second plane. But like, we've talked about before, start something out that's got some safe, like the Delta Ray or whatever, get your orientation down. And then like we talked, move on to an easy warbird to fly that has safe, like the Corsair they have out or something, or another
T-28.
T-28 or, like the Sport Cub. Something like that that's pretty mild-mannered. Then when you get that down and you're comfortable, with your landings and stuff like that, then I think, you could move on to like the Tundra or the Fun Cub or something, because, yeah, them things, even though, you drop them 90-degree flaps and things slow down the ball and everything, right, it's still a pretty versatile, aerobatic type airplane.
Well, you nailed it, though. Now you're dealing with flaps.
Yeah.
So, if you're not proficient, you can get yourself in trouble. And it's not going to be nice.
Yeah, and especially on something like the Tundra or the Fun Cub. And Andre, you can attest to this. When you drop those 90-degree flaps down and you really start to slow that thing down, the control surfaces get really mushy. The thing doesn't really want to do anything in it, and you can just, stall it out 4 feet, 3 feet, off the ground. So now, Andre, when you were a little bit flying the Tundra, did you have any problems or difficulties there, when you were using the full flaps?
No. I watched the speed, but in like yesterday's video, I'll have to post that eventually. Man, you can make this thing crawl, and I love those 90-degree flaps. It's just, and my initial flights, I didn't have enough down elevator when I first flew the airplane, especially in that 35-kilometer-hour wind stuff I was doing a couple of weekends ago. And, so we would balloon. So this time I got really aggressive. I think on my, my half flaps, I'm at 15 degrees, and I think at full flaps I'm at 30. Well, whatever, it's numerical 15, numerical 30 on my radio, right? So whatever that degrees translated it, I'd have to get my gauge out to tell you. But it was initially I was 5 and 10, so that gives you just how much. It gives you an idea of just how much input I was putting into it. So, but when it slows down, it is beautiful. But because you've got that big giant carbon fiber prop and you've got that nice pack behind you, if you do get in trouble, at least you can come up. But it is a very, 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 very well-mannered aircraft and very well behaved, and that's what got me out of the box. It was, had no really wicked evil tendencies, kind of like if I was to compare the Pawnee and this aircraft flew way better. Just, there was no surprises.
That's where we'd have a lot of fun when we were out flying the Beavers. We loved taking them downfield, turn them back in, drop the flaps, and just sit there and watch them just putz right on by.
Right.
It's just, man, that's fun to watch.
Yeah, and especially with the Beavers, they're being so scale. And I wish more companies would do this, but the Beaver's loaded with lights. You got the landing lights, you got the nav lights, and it even has the strobes on the end of it. So even like at dusk, man, them strobes are going on. you can't beat the Beaver in looks.
Yeah.
Just cruising around, you really can't. And I wish some of these other companies would do a little bit more of that. Throw some lights on there like that. Just sets them off a little bit more.
Of course, that was one of our favorite flights, though. In the wintertime is when we had them out there. Man, that was a lot of fun.
You know, we were just talking about that not too long ago. We were like, we've had a total of what, 2 inches? I'm not complaining,
yeah, right?
But we really haven't had any snow.
Yeah, and last year we had nothing but high winds and negative wind chill factors that were ridiculous.
Right,
so,
and that's finally when we were like, we can't beat it. We might as well just join it.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Oh, I know. It'd be like right now, if it would snow, I'd be back in that field in a heartbeat. Just, you know, I'd call you up, I'd grab Andrew, and out the back door I'd go.
Exactly. So, you know, part of us, we're kind of wishing for a little bit of snow so we can get out there and cruise around, get the Beavers back out for sure.
Yeah.
So, and that's one good thing about the Beaver. That thing's like a tank.
It is.
It's big. It's heavy. You know, it flies kind of heavy.
Yeah.
So even though it doesn't have anything like AS3X or anything like that, that thing, you know, really handles the weather and the wind way better than I ever expected it.
And that's why I really like the Tundra. When I seen that, you know, I like that style anyways. And now the Skipper, it's a totally different beast, and I like that thing. Just watching that thing, I said that thing even looks like fun.
Yeah,
it is. It's
that Tundra is like, oh,
I know.
Between that and the Sky, it's like, oh, you guys are killing
I know.
Me. I love it.
You know what the big problem I have is I can't get the Tundra and the Sky Mule in the car.
Well, I got floors.
I wanted to do all 3 together and just go flying, and just because they're different cell packs, right? So you can just sit there and go, but if I take the wings off the Sky Mule, it should still fit in.
Nice. But hey, too, if we have a few viewers following us. If you guys, I think the live chat's up and working, isn't it? So if you guys, you know, we ain't going to hang out here much longer because, like I said, for what we were going to do, it didn't happen. So we thought, well, everything's here and set up. We're just going to fire it up. So if you guys had any questions or want to chat with us or whatever, hit the live chat. We can answer some questions because we're probably not going to be on here too much longer. And you guys really are the only ones, you know, hanging out with us here. So other than that, you know, there ain't too much going on. So Andre, when do you think you are going to get that P40 in the air? That thing is turning out to be a stealth queen. Look at it. Look at it.
Look at that. Oh, look at my little princess. No, I was so close to getting that in the air. And the weekend before, I was all set, and I discovered a couple of the decals had peeled back. So I went, okay, fine, I'll get that. And then we all, you know, instantaneously, it was winter for us. Like, it was one day we had the 30-centimeter dump and it never went away. So I guess that'll be first thing this spring, and we'll come out and I'll go flying. I'll probably do a little bit of practice. Well, I guess that's where the Pawnee is going to be has been really handy, because I've gotten used to that whole, and all winter I've been flying, you know, tail dragger style stuff. And then, like I said, I've got the Mustang to really get myself, you know, comfortable. And that's a plane I don't mind scratching up too badly, I guess. So, but I guess eventually that means that, you know, I'll get the 4S pack in there and I have that power, because the 3S is good, but the 4S is that little extra bit of security to fly. And I'm kind of curious to see how I'm going to react to the color scheme and the green only. But you know, I'll just, worst case scenario, I'll add a little yellow and go with it. So I'm trying to watch the chat at the same time, but you know, it's
question though, like say you do have a lot of snow. I know it's got kind of a pretty good size scoop on the front, but if you had to gear up, is it possible to belly land it in snow or no?
I think you'd suck in a lot of snow and probably do more damage. And all the control surfaces are exposed underneath. Sorry, the control rods and everything. So I don't know how it would take it. You know, it's an expensive airplane too. No, I think that's where I've been really satisfied this year, because the winter fleet grew quite nicely. and you know, I think that's going to allow us to, or allow me to, just continue to fly. I mean, I've got enough choice. That's where I was really happy about the Skipper, because the Skipper can just throw into the car, and then I've got the Tundra, and I'm going to test the Tundra on the floats next, Wayne, actually. Skis are fun, but the really nice thing about the floats is they give that, where are they? Hold on. Oh, don't want to, here we go. Let's see. Look at that. Look at the size of that, the ground clearance you get running the floats.
Wow.
And it comes with, I don't have it here, I think it's just, I stowed it away, but it comes, you swap out the landing gear and you put in a little, you get a little rudder that you can steer around in the water. I doubt it's useless on the snow because you probably just skip it off the ground all the time.
Right.
But we've got options at least. So look at that. But I'm looking forward to testing them out and going. So so I'm just really happy that the winter fleet is going along, and then of course this summer I'll be getting into flying the warbirds and stuff like that. So yeah.
A couple of questions have been floating in here a little bit. Some of them ask us if we've tried beta flight yet. I have not. They haven't even really looked into it. So that might be something to check into. Another person asked if should I register with the FAA?
Ooh, okay.
That's up to you, man. I'm not going to say yes, no. I think what we're looking at down the road is we're going to have to. But they're already kind of doing some, I don't know if you've seen, Wayne. I don't, again, I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but I have some notes at home. They already have some revisions out, and they're already kind of resorting back to the original AMA rules about flying and stuff. So that is actually changing as we speak. So things, when you go to register, what you got to check and everything when you do register is starting to change a little bit. So I'm probably actually going to wait till the February 19th at the very last day, probably at midnight, to actually register. But I'm still just myself kind of waiting around, seeing what's going on and what's going to change a little bit. But I am happy to see they are changing things a little bit on the rules and regulations. So we'll see what happens. Anything else?
Yeah, I quit watching all that stuff. I get too mad whenever I start reading. I quit.
You start reading everybody's comments. You get drowned. Yeah, it's like trying to read some stuff on the news.
Somebody asked if I've flown the Beaver from skis. Absolutely. I think actually if you go check out the After Hours Instagram, there's several pictures of it on skis. I fly mine off of Dubro skis. Wayne, you fly yours off of the floats.
Yep.
And
hey, Chris, our good man Stuart just came online. Oh, and he says, yeah, no, he said he didn't realize the time, but he's available now. If we want to tune him in, he can do the chat before he gets to the office. So, do we want to do this?
I can get him on Skype right now.
All right. I'll email him real quick, and we will do this. So, hold on, folks. We're going to do this. Yay!
And while you tell him to get on Skype, we'll continue on here talking about our Beaver. Yeah, we had no issues flying either or. Nope. I love the skis. They work great. Had no problems. The only thing we did encounter, and I might have been a little bit more with the floats and the skis, is we were out probably on like a 33, 34 degree day, and the snow got really, really slushy and sticky.
Real sticky. But that, I think it would have stuck to anything.
I agree.
Because it was sticking to your skis as fast as it stuck to the floats.
I totally agree.
It was just one of those days.
Right. So that's the only issue we really had, flying in the snow was the real sticky snow. But it was kind of fun because literally you could just sit there and power the thing almost full throttle, and it would just jump off the ground. And then when you came in to land, it just stuck. Like as soon as the floats or the skis hit, it stuck, and you just stopped. So you had like a 1 foot or 6 inch landing pad.
Yeah, I really like the floats. So it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's whatever you like, whatever you got, get out there and fly.
And surprisingly, that's the first time that I actually seen flying in snow with floats. I know a lot of people use them. I never did. I always use the skis. But surprisingly, I was how well they actually worked. And, you know, and the nice thing with the floats, it was almost kind of like the water. Like if you come in a little wonky or whatever, like with the skis, you know, you could stick a ski down in the snow and you see me do it, and it flipped and rolled whatever. But with the floats, you could just, that thing would kind of bounce around, you know, and hit. And
you had to really come in nose in order for that to happen. It could happen.
Right. So how big are the tires on the Tundra? Andre,
they are 5-inch. They're very similar to the other Cub, the the Fun Cub. So they're foam 5-inch ones. They're actually in a bin in the back room, unfortunately, right now. But they are nice sized tires, and they ran really. I mean, the first thing I did with the Pawnee was I stuck bigger tires on, and it makes all the difference. When I fly, it's funny. We've got 2 fields. At where I fly, it's kind of like an L shape kind of thing, and one is a gravel, and it's a football track. It's a track with it's a football field with an oval track around it. And the guys like to fly out of that, and I tend to go to the other field because most of the time I'm doing something goofy like shooting content, obviously. And I tend to like to fly off the grass more because it's just for fun. I mean, like you said, Wayne, my favorite thing to do with the Tundra is to jam this thing, you know, half throttle, take off, or half flaps, take off, put her into full flaps, do a 180 and short land, you know. And any plane that can do that for me is gold. So, I mean, that's, you know, even the Pawnee, I was like pushing that poor little airplane is for all it was worth. And it's probably thinking, I'm a crop duster. What are you doing to me? As it's flapping around, right? But I just, like anything I can drop down and just pop into the field is good. So I basically reserve the airstrip for things like the T-28 and, you know, anything with the smaller wheels, the Sukhoi, and obviously the Warbirds, because then they'll just come in. But the problem with that field too is when you nose over, it just along with it. So, but 5 inches on the Tundra. And any word on the release? Well, we're trying to get Stuart on. He just messaged me back saying, you know, if you guys can wait a few minutes, I can do it on my way to work. I said, the sooner the better, folks.
Yep.
And it's not his fault. The poor guy is actually plus 13 hours to us in the Eastern time zone. So I think what he said was, oops, I think I made a miscalculation when we were talking about time. Because when we talked with him, he was on vacation. He just got back to Hong Kong. So we're going to try and keep going, but I also just say that, you know, the poor married guys here in Ottawa and in Ohio have to attend to their families and kids eventually.
Right.
And you got to go to work tomorrow morning.
Right. Yeah. And we have a release date. So when we do get Stuart on, we'll talk a little bit, and it's coming very soon.
It's coming very, very soon. And, you know, and it's one of those things where they did initially have a nice set up release plan and everything, and unfortunately a couple elements got in the way. So and someone was asking about some of the photos, and I said, well, no, actually I've got tons of photos and tons of video, and I was kind of just, you know, I'm slowly been just teasing because I just wanted to stay in line with what they were talking about. So I can't wait to, you know,
my house,
the Tundra.
Oh yeah,
I
could see me owning that very easily.
Right. And hopefully we get Stuart on. I got a little story about the high wings, how I actually got into the high wings. But geez, I got a lot, you know, Fun Cub and the Carbon Z Cub and the Sport Cub. I love the high wings.
Yes,
I absolutely love them. They're so versatile. You can do so many things with them.
And they look great.
Yes, they look.
Yeah, everybody should have. It's as I build my fleet, and it's funny because people ask, you know, do you still scratch build and stuff like this? And I'm like, yes, of course, I still scratch build. I tend to save my scratch building for when the weather isn't as hospitable. But I have very little repetition or replication in my existing fleet until now. And so I've got, you know, I had the 2 planes sitting there, and my dad's like, so what are you gonna do with your Fun Cub?
He's already on.
And I do want to get him up, and actually, you know, and it's one of those things I want to buddy box a couple friends on this thing eventually. Especially my dad's really leery about taking my airplanes and trying them. I'm like, no, go fly this airplane, and he won't even touch any of mine. So I haven't. Sorry, I'm looking at some questions here too. I haven't built the FPV canopy, and I'm going to eventually. and then I'm not going to use the Mobius on it. I'm going to use just a normal camera. But I have done some footage with the Mobius on the airplane, and I do have a spot on the floats where I want to try the Mobius. So,
oh, that would be awesome. The only
for the view.
Oh, well, I guess maybe off the snow it wouldn't be too bad, but if you
water, bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't tried to land on water, and I know how I land, so I think that would just involve a very messed up plane. So
you'll be surprised, Andre, when you get that thing on water, how well the floats really do work.
Yeah,
the landings actually, and Wayne can attest to this, and he can tell you, it's almost actually easier landing on, if it's fairly calm, landing on water with the floats. It really is.
It's nerve-wracking. Don't
for a while.
Don't let it kid you. I mean, it made me nervous, but
yeah, I could see that. Actually, it was funny because I was watching the review. I was reviewing some of the footage, and there was more than one occasion where I came up, and it was like, you know, the snow kind of sneaks up on you, and you, oops, I pancaked there. And it was one of those things where I'm watching a white plane on a white sky, you know, because we had a really overcast weekend, and white ground, and I'm sitting there, and I'm reminding myself to blink my eyes, so I start, you know, so I keep the color and everything, because, you know, every once in a while my dad would lean over and go, "What kind of landing was that?" I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." He was shooting video for me, and I'm doing everything I can to bring this thing in nice. And then once in a while, you would just, you know, I'd do a beautiful landing, and then you come in and you catch a rut, and the plane would go all over the place. I've got one really funny one where I caught it, and it knocked the plane sideways. So I just kept going with it and powered my way out of it, you know. So the wingtip is touching the snow, and just gone. She climbs. It's just there's so much power on tap, which is really nice. And that prop that's good. I mean, the first weekend I had it, I flew into a camera. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I seen that.
The prop, the camera went right through the prop. It didn't touch the prop, and there's a couple marks on the bottom where the camera casing impacted on the underside of the plane. But it's got good suspension as well. So.
Hey, real quick, maybe since we know Stuart's coming on now, and we're just kind of waiting for him, what if you run through a little bit of the specs of the plane? Do you got anything there on the specs of it?
Oh, you mean the manual?
Yeah. You know, give us.
Yeah, hold on. So
prop and wingspan and weight and battery recommendations and all that stuff.
Here we go. So it is it's a 1300 millimeter plane, so almost 52 inches. Or 51.7. The length is 1190 millimeters, so 47.2 inches long, and it is it's got a flying weight of 1150 grams, so 40 ounces. Takes your standard 6-channel radio. I'm actually still flying on an orange RX 6-channel, and we'll be putting in an FR Sky, especially if I do FPV. It's got a 40 amp ESC, which is plenty, and runs a 950 kV 3636 brushless outboard motor, or outrunner, sorry, outboard. And it's got a carbon fiber prop, and that's a 12x6. I run it on, they say a 1300 to 2200, but I run this thing on a 6500, 65C. A-Spec 3S 2200. I want to try my 4000, my 3S 4000s, because I got those things running right to the front, and CG is beautiful. And it's got the stuff for the bomb drop, which I haven't done yet. And the skis, you don't have the bottom end for it, so there's not enough room. With the wheels on, it would definitely have the room to go. And there was a couple questions about whether you needed a ski in the back. Not really. You do skirt around, and I can turn left better than I can turn right, and that's all prop wash and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I don't think on any of the planes I've ever put skis on, I've never put a tail wheel on there. Never. I haven't found the need for it or anything. You know, one question I'm going to have for Stuart, I'm trying to remember the plane, but here maybe about a year ago, they brought out, what was it, Andre? Was it the Bushwhacker? Not the Bushwhacker.
I know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about?
Yes, they had it was a 4S plane, yeah.
And it was really kind of like the Tundra. And we talked about it, and I was like, man, I don't know. I'm not real impressed with that. And it was flying off the 4-cell and blah, blah, blah. Well, shortly after that, then they come out with a Tundra. So I'm curious to ask, what happened? Was that something maybe they brought out and realized, this isn't really what we wanted, and went back to the drawing board and brought out the Tundra? So what is the name of that plane? I can't
see.
remember.
My battle rate
Bushmaster, yeah,
is between the Sky Mule and the Tundra.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. See, I think you would enjoy Wayne. That's tough because you have your Beaver. Yeah.
Yep. So I think I might have to fall back to the Sky Mule first. I really like that plane.
I do too. I mean, it's funny. I haven't had a chance. I've been working with. Actually, it was in the car ready to go, and then Chris and I started working on getting the chat stream all set up, and so it didn't get flying, so I had to bring it back in because it was in the way in the hallway and stuff like this, and I had all my 3 S4000s ready to go, and I was just looking forward to flying that airplane because I haven't really flown it, and it's such a fantastic. Actually, I think you can see it in the background right there.
I see it.
Yeah, I'm like this. I know it sounds like I'm a Durafly fanboy, but the price points and the products, I've been so even the Sky Mule out of the box flew right. I had my buddy who had flown one before, talked me through it, and then I think within a day or two I was doing, I was hot dogging the plane. I was dropping down low past the cameras and doing all kinds of goofy stuff, because you could just trust the airplane to do what it needs to do. And that's very much like the experience like out of the sky. And and so that's why when I get into something like a Warbird, it takes me a little bit to figure out, okay, why is it doing this? Why is it not doing exactly the way it's supposed to be? And why is it not meeting my expectations? Hence my initial experience with the Pawnee. And it's funny because, okay, I've only been flying RC again, really solidly now for 2.5 years, 3 years. And so when I get something in my hands and it kind of doesn't do what you want to do, you have to do that. Okay, let's think through the dynamics of why this airplane is doing what it's not supposed to do and stuff. So, but these guys fly. I mean, out of the box, such a quick build on this airplane, the Tundra. Even the Sky Mule was a kit, so that took a little bit longer because I had to physically glue the whole monster together because it was in halves and stuff. But again, took off, and I flew, and it was some pretty strange winds that day. I even had to land on a crosswind, and there's no flaps or anything like that, but it's just what I love about the Sky Mule is that scale look when you're coming in, and you're kind of, it's crabbing along because of the, crosswind, so you just kick in a little rudder and straighten it all out, and just looks so much like an airliner.
Right. Okay, now, since Stuart hopefully will be on here soon, let's dive a little bit deeper now into the Tundra. And what I'm going to kind of do, I'm going to compare it to the Fun Cub, because basically it's very close in size, power, battery, everything. And I've got a lot of time on a Fun Cub, and that actually until mine disintegrated. And I do have a new one in the box that I got to put together. But anyway, that Fun Cub was probably my go-to plane. Of course, that was before I had the Beaver too. It was just so versatile. Even like when the weather was crappy or whatever, you didn't want to pull the Warbird out. The Fun Cub generally was always in the car. It was always fun. You could do whatever you wanted to do with it. If you wanted to do, aerobatic stuff with it, like if you wanted to, like Andre was saying, you could just take it up, twirl it all, just bang the sticks around. Then you could drop the flaps all the way down 90 degrees and just play around. It was just pure fun. It was an all-around fun airplane. So, Andre, my question to you is then, since they're so comparable with all the specs and everything, what are the differences? Of course, you have a Fun Cub and own one.
Yes, I do.
What are some of the differences in characteristics, like flying characteristics, ground handling, and everything? What's the differences between the two?
Well, outside of physical appearances, I find I like the look of the Tundra. One, it's got a much wider fuselage, so you can actually get in there and drop in larger cells. The Fun Cub is very narrow in comparison. I should have put my other one beside it just for it. But things like access panels, interior access. The Fun Cub is functional to a degree, but this guy takes it to a whole other level, because, grab it and we'll get up to the camera and you'll see what I'm talking about, because you see that there? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. There you go in there. And then the access to the back servos and stuff like this, in the Fun Cub.
On it. Oh, nice. That I didn't know it had.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the camera. Yeah, there you go. So there's some subtle differences as far as physical, and you can get a shot all the way through, and the Fun Cub is kind of staged different. Now we're talking different. What are we talking? At least 5, maybe more years difference in technology.
Right.
And design principles and everything. Mm-hmm. So, there are a couple things that, you got to be cautious about.
Oh,
that's the plastic cowl.
Okay. Yep.
So you crash or you nose in, you're going to shatter that. Mm-hmm. Fun Cub, it's all foam. The plane theoretically can bounce.
Right. Okay. So,
and I've done that.
Another question I have, knowing the Fun Cub, the wing, you had 2 nylon bolts, and it came apart very easily, and was to transport it was pretty simple, I thought, except for the servo wires. What's the differences on the wing? Taking it apart, if you have to take it apart to transport it.
So you do have wing struts, 2 really nice wing struts, which I think makes the thing that much more aerobatic and everything. Mm-hmm. And you've got several screws on the top, and in the manual they recommend putting some tape across there if you're not taking the plane apart often. Mm-hmm. And that is about it. So you've got 2 little screws, and then you have your servo connectors, which are these PCB boards that you lock into. So the servos, the flaps are in there, and you lock into it. So you got to pay attention to that. And then you do have your spar, your main spar. Mm-hmm. So you can take the wing off. It's a little bit more involved process, but I mean, the Fun Cub, you took the entire top end off the airplane. So,
right.
So I'd say it's about, go ahead.
With that connection then, so like if you got the wing all apart, and since you have the ailerons on, say you got the ailerons on and the flaps and everything, you don't have all those servo connections inside to actually label and plug in and everything when you put the wing on. All it is the one connection. You slide that wing together, and you have the one connection that goes together, and then you're ready to go, right?
Yeah, it's basically you've got the 2 receiver ports so you got the 2 servo receivers, and you just slide them into the port on the fuselage, and then you just have to put in the screws for your struts and the 2 on the top of the wing, and you're back in business. So is it something I would take apart often? No. And the only time I've taken my Fun Cub apart for a trip was last year when I brought it to Flight Fest.
Oh, gotcha. Right, right.
So really, what this plane is missing, and I really wish they would have. I wish they would have put a LED light kit into it, or navigation lights. I added that to my Fun Cub, and it makes all the differences seeing it. So I got a feeling this plane over time will get that from me. I will probably just go in and very lightly run some wires into the wing and stuff like this. It will be a little bit more creative to route it, but again, I think it's worth it because this plane is, it is such a pleasure to fly, and everything we've talked about, where you've gotten, your ability to just get out to the field and have something that can do what you want to do.
Right.
It's funny. I mean, it's if you ask yourself, what do you feel like doing today? Well, I want to be aerobatic. Yep. I want to go slow. Yep. I don't feel I'm up to my speed of just so. Yeah, like I said, this out of the box, this airplane has impressed me, and it flies. Like you said, Chris, it will do what you want to do when you need it to do it, right? So,
so then, what are some of the characteristics if you compare the Fun Cub to the Tundra? What's the differences? What are some of the similarities? Because the Fun Cub's been around forever, and generally everybody knows what the Fun Cub does, how it does it, how well it does it. So, how does it compare to it then?
I think they mimic their flying styles very, very similarly. I mean, my motor specs, mine was a kit, so I built it up with the motor I had and everything, so I'm still running a 12-inch prop and everything. I think this guy is got a I never experienced the Fun Cub kit, right? Sorry, the package. So I don't know how that motor felt and everything, but I had a very similar motor, I think. But this guy is obviously, I think, has got a little bit more performance because of the batteries and the ESC setup I run with it, but they all take off the same. And I probably could do mirror videos side by side of, you know, that full flap and nose up and off you go kind of feeling to it. And it just works and flies. But this aircraft, I found the Tundra, I would almost say the Tundra for me was a little bit more stable.
Okay.
I've managed to nose. Actually, the Fun Cub is down because last time I was playing around in wind, and I turned against the wind with full flaps and basically had no airspeed, and it just dropped out of the air, unfortunately, right? So I banged up the bearing on that motor. So I got to replace that. But oh boy, it is a really fantastic question because I think they fly, and I'm almost wanting to give this thing a little bit more edge for the stability for some reason. But what I want to do is get the two of them together eventually and literally do a fly off, you know?
Yeah. What about slowing down? Does it slow down as slow, you know, as the fun?
Yeah.
I've literally had the Fun Cub will fly backwards. You get
it in the wind. Oh yeah, that is one of the things I love doing with the Fun Cub. You know, you get into a really good wind. It's almost more enjoyable to fly the Fun Cub in a high wind situation because you get there and you throttle match the thing, and it just kind of sits there and hovers in the air, and you're like, okay, let's go. And I've been flying with my dad, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm landing." He says, "How? You're not going forward."
And that was one of my favorite things with the Fun Cub is in a 10, 12 mile an hour wind, it would, you drop the flaps all the way down, it went backwards.
Yeah.
Literally, you could land going backwards with it. It was great.
And I just love being able to just put the plane into a spot and just go and just you drop the flaps, you put the power on, you're up, you do your maneuver, your loop, and you come back. You know, you probably could do a full circuit, you know, up, down, do a loop and land probably right back from where you took off if you were, you know, if the conditions were just right.
Right. Let's see. What else could we compare it to? Well, you said it was around a 12.6 prop. The Fun Cub, I think they recommend a 12.4. So you got a little bit bigger prop on the Tundra. So you might actually have a little bit more power with that thing, I'm thinking, than when you do with the Fun Cub. So power-wise, it was pretty comparable, though?
Yeah, I mean, my motor, I know I tried my 65Cs on it, and I never felt when I ran them on that plane that they had the same benefit. You know, it was kind of like you were throwing extra power at it for no good reason. So that could have been my motor prop combination, right? I bet if I threw a carbon fiber blade onto my Fun Cub, it probably would be really aggressive now. So I generally ran that airplane on I think one of my zippy compacts, the 35Cs or 25Cs, and it was fine. It had more than enough power, but I had this thing going. I bet in your hands, Chris, with the 3D things you were doing with my Fun Cub, this thing would it would be amazing to watch. Actually, I think too that the Tundra has got more dihedral, which probably speaks to why it's so stable at slow speeds.
Yeah.
You know, like it's got a nice, you can even see in the video there, you can see it's got a nice, and I think those wing struts make this thing, you know, really rigid, really reliable. Like you know, the odds of you folding over the wings is probably a lot lower.
Right. And that was one thing that the Fun Cub does not have. It does not have any kind of struts on there. And what happened to me was I folded the wing on the Fun Cub, and really it was kind of my fault. We were really pushing it, but I actually had a friend of mine on the buddy box. I've told the story before, but I'll throw it back out there. I was tinkering around, you know, just banging the sticks around, and he was just amazed. Said, "Man, that thing is just unbelievable. It looks like so much fun." So I thought, you know what, you really can't hurt this thing. Let's put you on the buddy box. I'll just put you, you know, 4 mistakes high, and I'll just let you go. Just go to town, have fun, you know. And that's what we did. I put him on there. We flew around. He was banging the sticks around. He was actually doing pretty good. I think we might have even went through one battery. I can't remember. Put another battery, went up. And, you know, he was getting a little more daring, a little more brave. And you know, I wanted him to try to maybe do a landing with it or whatever. But if he got into a bad situation, I would literally just let him go. I mean, till we almost got to the ground. Then I'd take over. I'd put him back up, and I said, "Well, do you know what you did wrong?" Yeah, let's, you know. Well, one time he got into a pretty gnarly spin, and he was power on, not power off, power on. So I kept telling him, pull the power back, and he did. And I think he's starting to panic at that point. You know, he was overloaded of what to do. I seen him banging the sticks around. So I'm trying to talk him through it. As we're in this power on stall, this plane just kept building up more speed. And I'm trying to talk him through it. Well, finally, it got to the point. This is it. I got to take over. And right when I went to flip the switch to take over, we just heard, you know, if anybody has heard the foam, it's this huge, loud bang. And I just seen the wings fold up, man. This thing instantly picked up to about 100 mile an hour and just death spiraled right into the ground. And of course, you know, the look that he gave me, he was just in, oh my gosh, what did I just, I mean, I thought he was going to start crying right there. You know, he felt so bad. Oh, Chris, man, I said, dude, don't worry. It's not your fault. You know, we were having fun. Don't worry about it. So we went over, checked it all out, pulled the wings, and it actually, you know, where the spar and everything glued in, the Fun Cub's got a pretty heavy duty spar in the wing. It never, the glue held up. It never actually like pulled away from the glue or anything. Actually, the foam physically broke and snapped off.
Hey, Chris, if you can contact Stuart, he is ready.
Oh, fantastic. I'll give him a call here right now.
All right.
On Skype?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll give him a call. I don't see him on here yet. Oh, there he is right here. Let's see if he answers. Stuart!
Hello.
Oh,
Good.
my gosh, we got you, buddy.
Well, I got you. Sorry for the misunderstanding there.
No problem. We were almost a little worried about you because, you know, I know your prompt and everything was set, and I was like, man, I hope everything's okay. You know, we were just, I think, more concerned than anything for you.
No, it's only cold here, and I have a 9-month-old baby. But other than that, it's fine.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
We are live now, just to let you know, Stuart.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
So I think, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you're live whilst you wait for me in the taxi rank. I treat myself because it's so cold to get a taxi to work today.
Oh, so this will be the first live podcast on the FT After Hours with talking to somebody in a taxi.
Right.
That's interesting.
Let's hope it holds out.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's dive right in. I wanted to tell you a quick story. I've been kind of holding this till we actually talk to you, but I am a huge like high wing trainer type. Love them all. Fun Cub, Sport Cub, Tundra. I just love those planes. And how that happened is several years ago, even before the Fun Cub actually come out, I went flying to a place up in Cleveland, and I got up there and I seen this guy. He had all kinds of balsa like high wing trainers, and when I was watching him, it was just amazing how he would just go up. He was doing these light 3D maneuvers. He was going slow. He would drop the flaps. He would just spin the thing down to the ground, stick the landings, put the flaps up, take off in 2 feet. I mean, I was just sitting there mesmerized while I'm sitting there holding my Warbird going, I want to fly his plane. I don't want to fly my plane. Yeah. And the quick funny story was, this is when 2.4 just came out. So what happened was, after I watched him for a while, I fired up and started flying, and he seen my plane in the air and freaked out. He's screaming at me. He's holding his radio. He's running at me. What channel are you on? What channel are you on? I mean, he's just freaking out. And I hold my radio. I go, 2.4, buddy. And you could just see the relief come down on his face. So after that moment, I searched the net. I mean, research and look, because I really didn't want a balsa plane. You know, I wanted something in foam. And at that time, there really was nothing like that to fly. And eventually the Fun Cub finally came out, and I started to see some videos of it, what it could do, and the big wheels. You could take off and land anywhere. And I bought it.
Sorry, Andre. I'm just sorry to interrupt. I'm just getting my taxi. Sorry, 1 second. Hoy bando.
No problem.
Dial-san. Sorry.
That's all right.
Awesome.
So after that, I bought the Fun Cub right away, and it was one of my favorite, most flown planes I had. Until I flew the wings. I absolutely love them. So I have a few questions for you. One, what made you guys decide, or what got the idea for the Tundra? How did it come about?
Well, that was there's two things really. Some of you may have seen on the on my RC Groups page that I had a Fun Cub. Like you, I fell in love with it. I really liked it. There was a few things that I didn't quite like about it, so I wanted to make a change there. I even flew one at my wedding. I had a homemade confetti dropper underneath mine, and
that's hilarious.
Dropped confetti over my wedding. Yeah, like you, I really like high wing models, and the Multiflix Fun Cub is a good model. Is quite old now, so I wanted to bring something up to date. And we saw that a few other people were bringing out similar models, but they were all Cubs. And we wanted to do something other than a Cub. And there's an aircraft called a Just Aircraft Highlander. Now the Tundra is kind of like a sports scow, loosely based on that aircraft, and that's pretty much it. It's been in development almost a year and a half now, that model. And
wow.
We're really pleased with it. We really wanted to get it right. So it obviously wasn't perfect to start with, and we tweaked it. I wanted to make the wheels bigger and bigger and bigger. They're still not quite big enough in my mind.
Right.
But yeah, that's basically the nuts and bolts of how that one came around, and pretty pleased with how it turned out, actually.
Right. And Andre, I mean, he's just been praising this thing. But I have another question for you. I'm curious, and maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the Tundra, but you guys had a plane kind of similar to the Tundra that came out about a year ago. And again, I already forgot what it was there, Andre. It was very similar, but it ran on a 4-cell. And I looked at that plane and I was like, I don't know. I don't really want the 4-cell. I'm not really sure. And I really kind of passed it off. Now, was that something that you guys initially kind of brought out that, that was going to be like similar to the Tundra, and realized this isn't really what we wanted, and then went back to the drawing board?
Was that the Bushmaster?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a good model for what it was, but we just wanted something so much better. And you're right, a slightly smaller package. This size with the 2200 3S is basically the money shot in terms of models that will suit both club flyers and non-club flyers. It's really the perfect size. And the great thing is, with these sports models, you can do such a bigger model on a 2200 as opposed to a warbird that tend to stay around the 1100 mil size. This one at just over 51 inches, 1300 mil, really fits in well.
So what was your some of the dilemmas you ran into? Like you said, you were testing it for a year and a half, which is a long time. I mean, what were some of the characteristics you were looking for, and maybe were having trouble in the development process?
Well, I should probably rephrase it. It's not so much trouble. It's just that at the same time we were developing a lot of other models as well, and we always are. A good model you can turn around or a good turnaround time is just under a year. The Spitfire came out in just under a year. The Tundra just took a little bit longer because there was other stuff going on. I wanted to make sure that it had that really nice, stable characteristic when flying slow with the full barn door flaps down. That was very important. Wanted to make sure that it had enough power to take off vertically, which it does now.
Right.
And we were deliberating over including the floats or not. So we initially went without the floats. Then we decided, let's go ahead and do it anyway, because we were sure we could get them in the box and keep the box small enough. So then we had to go for a few reiterations of floats, but eventually we got there, and it's pretty much what you see now.
I have a suggestion for you guys, and I don't know if you're listening to the podcast, but Wayne and I have a couple of the Fly Zone Beavers.
Yes.
And we absolutely love that plane. Fly the absolute daylights out of that plane. And one thing that a lot of these other manufacturers, I think, are missing out on a little bit, and I'd even pay the little extra money for it, is the Beaver has lights all around it. It's got landing lights, the strobe lights, the rotating beacon lights, and to fly that plane like early in the morning or in the evenings, or like we've talked about before, we'd love to take it out in a blizzard in the snowstorm, and to see that thing cruise around and see the lights, it just makes that little bit extra that it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're just curious if you guys were, looking into something like that or down the road.
Well, that was, I mean, even for the Tundra as it stands now, that was one of the considerations. But one of the other aspects of the brief for this one was to keep it as light as possible.
Okay.
And even those few other grams, I know I preferred it as light as possible. It is very, very light now. It's got a flying weight of like 40 ounces. You pick it up and you think, oh my God, this is it. There's a little cost aspect as well, but as you said, most people wouldn't mind paying a little bit more. But if a bigger version were ever to come out, then sure, it would have LEDs.
Very nice.
But that said, they're pretty easily fitted. I had one that one of the older samples I took, and I put LEDs all down the center fuselage and along the wing. And because it's in the fuselage, it really lights up like a frosted light bulb. It's really quite cool.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Tundra being the type of model it is, like the Fun Cub, we imagine that a lot of people go to town and really start personalizing it. So as a blank canvas, it lends itself very well to that kind of pimping, if you like.
I've looked at it and considered it, but it's just too darn beautiful right now to do anything to it.
Oh, it is.
Right. Well, good. Thank you.
No, I'm, as Chris said, I've been just praising this plane up and down. I've been holding back as far as the social media stuff I wanted to tell, because I wanted to wait till you guys were ready for your release, because gosh, this plane just made me so happy.
Yep.
It seems I got to the right person.
And what we wanted to say too, before we get too far, it is going to be released on the 27th, correct, Stuart?
Yep, that's this week. So just a few more sleeps until Christmas.
Right. So Wednesday, this plane will be released. You guys will have your chance to get your hand on it. So anybody watching this or actually listening to it live, you are hearing this first. Right. You have the date.
Yep, this is the first announcement. I'm actually going in. When I get into the office, it's Monday morning now here in Hong Kong. And we've got a little teaser for it that we'll be putting up today. So,
we'll be looking forward
to wet people's apples. It's we managed to work it in with a classic track, soundtrack. So I won't say any more, but it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. We'll look forward to that tomorrow morning then, obviously, for us.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And of course, as it's a Durafly model, it'll release in all warehouses, and spare parts will be available at the same time as well. In warehouses.
Excellent. I don't think too many. Well, I may order a spare prop just in case, but I put that thing through some abuse and it hasn't had any trouble, so I've been happy with that.
It's pretty tough, isn't it, that carbon?
It is. Actually, I was laughing because in some of the earlier footage they're like day one, I clipped the ground camera, and actually when I slowed down the footage, the prop actually missed the camera completely, and I dented the underbelly a very little bit of touch. But I was really happy. But I mean, even with the skis, occasionally you hear a little thump off the ice and stuff like that, because I'm not exactly the most subtle lander at times. But
it just cuts right through it.
Well, yeah, it didn't have any issues at all, and that motor is just actually. How many revisions did you do to the powertrain alone to get that sweet spot you talked about?
Probably about 2 or 3. We knew the size of the cam we wanted. It was a case of playing around with a combination of the KV and then the prop. We wanted to keep it below a certain amp hour reading. We didn't want heat to be an issue, and with that big open outlet, it's not. So yeah, 2 or 3 attempts. I had a good starting point because I basically just took the motor out of my Fun Cub and said, well, this works well for this model. Why doesn't it work well for this one? And it did to a point, but we just needed to tweak the KV a little. Every model is unique. It should be relatively simple, but it doesn't always transfer 100%. You have to tweak it a bit.
Excellent.
Yes, I wanted to ask you too, it's really rare for a plane something like this or a park flyer that actually come with a carbon fiber prop on there. You know, those are reserved for higher end, you know, 3D planes and stuff. So what made you even go with the carbon fiber prop? And did you guys notice a lot of difference with the carbon fiber prop in performance?
We tried several actually from our suppliers, and this one just worked really, really well. It's something that we're going to be selling anyway, as a standalone propeller, of course. We tried plastic, we tried wooden, but in the end, we just got the best performance out of this one. And the cost was maybe just a fraction more, but not as expensive as people might think. So it's actually a very, very good deal, and it looks good. It's rock solid, and it performs easily as well as, say, like an APC or a Zor wooden prop or anything like that. This model was originally designed to have a little spinner, but I just really like the open and dirty and rugged look of the prop nut.
No,
I think it suited it well. Yeah, very pleased.
I haven't flown it on floats yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that.
It will need
go ahead.
You will need a little bit of flaps. You can do a long takeoff run without flaps, but if you put the flaps down to midpoint, then it will really pop off nicely, just to help alleviate any suction to the water that the floats would naturally cause.
Nice. Well, I'm going to try them on the snow just for the kick of it, but I've really enjoyed the ski flying. I've really enjoyed this thing and I was telling the guys, I get there and I do a takeoff at half flaps, and then I jam into full flaps right away and do a 180 and land, and just do it over and over and over again. And a few people were asking, did I have any CG issues or anything like that? And I said, no, I stuck the battery in just before the vent on the bottom, and
that's right.
Almost, and not an issue. It's basically that A-spec battery you talked about did the trick, and I never ever had an issue with the CG, and everything stayed right where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's very spot on, and that's what we wanted as well. We didn't want people having to fiddle around or do some kind of black magic to get it working right. We wanted it to absolutely just work out of the box, assuming that you follow the included instruction manual, and it's bolt together as well. There is a tail brace kit provided if you feel you want to brace the tail a little, but I actually found the best way to brace the tail is to go against the bolt-on construction and actually glue it on. But if you need to be if the tail needs to be removable for you for transport needs or whatever, it can remain as such, and you can use the tail brace. Or if that's not a problem for you, which I'm sure it isn't for most people, just glue it on, and then it will be rock solid for life.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, and the tail brace didn't take long. It was just some glue, and I used my drill to punch through the plastic and put it on. Yeah. And to build it, I think I 30 minutes. And the hardware supplied and the instructions, the bags are all labeled correctly. There's spare hardware, and that is something that I look forward to when I look at a kit or expect from a supplier, even just the extra screw, because you drop stuff occasionally or stuff breaks or strips, but I was really impressed how fast that came together and how well it all did. Ryan asks, will there be other color options?
That's something we're still debating. I mean, it can be done relatively quickly, but I mean, what colors do you think your guys would like to see? We tried a purple. That was a bit too purple. And I don't know if you saw it when we first announced it, almost 9 months ago now. A bit too soon, but it was like a bright green. That didn't really sit with me too well. So we've actually gone. This is actually the multi-star green, the multi-star green for the motors.
Yeah,
it's that green. It just looks a bit more sophisticated with this dark green.
And I had no issues tracking it in overcast conditions or even bright blue, beautiful skies. So I was really happy with it. I mean, it's such a big plane anyhow, and so you know, visual that it was, I never had an orientation issue. And I was like yesterday, after a couple batteries, I was feeling really loosey-goosey. So I just popped full rates and just beaming. And I mean, I get 7 to 8 minutes or better, depending on how I'm running the sticks and everything. So I was, and even in really cold temperatures, the plane just performed exactly the way we thought.
Be a lot more in warmer temperatures. With the color, in fact, one thing we wanted to avoid, we didn't want to do blue and we didn't want to do red, simply because it's been done by other people so many times before. So we wanted something a little bit left of field. We're pretty pleased with how it turns out. So pretty happy with that. And with flight times, I found that for myself, with 2200, if I'm just shooting touch and goes all the time, like do a stall takeoff, then loop around and do a like nice as possible stall landing, I can stretch that to a good 15 minutes.
Oh wow! Okay,
that's my kind of flying.
Yeah,
I like doing
minutes for sure.
Oh yeah,
right.
Did you ever run any larger batteries in there, Stuart? Because I mean that fuselage is huge.
Yeah, I mean we went up to around 3,000. It started to get not as comfortable. It still flew great, but it certainly wasn't as comfortable with the 22. And it's actually really comfortable if you can get it all the way forward with like a 13 or a 1600 milliamp hour. That makes it really, really lightweight, and you can really turn it on a dime kind of thing.
Is that over top of the vent? Like, are you covering that vent, or just in front of the vent?
Basically, you just push it right on the back of the firewall, like across the fuselage, as it were.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Check out. Yeah. Yes, please.
There we go. Just showing everybody a little photo of that there. Well, that is. What else? What else, Chris? What do you got for the guy?
Man, I think he's answered just about everything. I'm just impressed with it, and I don't, every little, like what I liked about it is, Stuart flew a Fun Cub, and that was one of his favorite planes. So, all the little quirks and everything that I had issues with too. And I think Stuart's covered those really. Yep. Yeah, I think he made it just a little bit better.
Well, I hope it translates. I hope a lot of the things. I hope they're general things. Things that I picked up on. I hope that, like you said, Chris, other people picked up on them too.
Right.
Certainly, I didn't like the wing mounting system on the other model, but on this one, it's pretty straightforward and it's quite solid. You got the spar running through the center section. You've got the PCB connector, which makes things very neat. You don't have to fiddle around with Y leads and whatnot. And it's quite wide inside the fuselage. And another reason being, there's an included FPV canopy with this as well.
Yeah.
So there's room for your wires, or maybe if you want to put a flight controller in there, there's a nice flat surface in there for a flight controller right on the CG. But with FPV, it's a lot of fun as well, because during the development of this, I was just researching a lot of full-size stall bush flying, and these guys would fly right down the canyons and the ravines and get really, really close. And if you've got the environment, you can really emulate that with the Tundra, with the FPV canopy.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And you're watching through the propeller arc, but you don't notice it, and it actually makes it an even more realistic experience in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very close to. I got to build up the box, and I've got the kit already, and I'll be doing that very soon as well. I just wanted to get through all the video and shooting stage before I risked, having a whoops.
One last question I had, Stuart.
Sure.
One thing that I think the Fun Cub lacked that you guys put on is the wing struts. And before you got on, I told the story. I've actually folded a wing on my Fun Cub, and I thought afterwards, if it did have struts, it might have probably saved the wing. Did you guys do any testing without the struts to see how the wing handled?
Actually, not intentionally. They were always on there. They're structural for sure, but also for me it adds to the rugged look of it to have the struts. And it wasn't until quite recently that I was flying one of the final ones, and I was like, oh my roll rate's really sluggish. What's going on here? And then I landed, and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't screw on my wing struts. I'd only attached them on the bottom. I hadn't attached them onto the wings. They are needed for sure. But they work a treat, and they're very streamlined, and they screw on very easily. There's a little housing for them, and they fit really well.
It adds to look too.
Yeah, definitely adds.
You know,
to look.
It adds to look.
Right.
It's you know what's nice too. It's a way to grab and hold the plane without worrying about denting your wing foam or anything like that as well. It's a nice little spot, especially down low underneath the landing gear. And that's another spot I'd like to talk about too. You guys did a really nice job setting up that landing gear and putting in the plastic mount points. I'm just holding the camera up because the gear is sprung. And then all you do if you switch over to the floats is undo, 8 screws, and the screws that hold the back of the main gear, well, they transfer over to the backside to hold the floats.
Exactly.
So it's really versatile, and all the gear sits into plastic mounting points, which is hard mount points, which is really nice and handy. So, I think it takes away from some of the fatigue that the foam will see over time. So.
Yeah, it's spread quite nicely. It's actually, I mean, when we were coming up with it, that was one of the longest parts. Just it's by design, it's quite complicated, but in its working, it's actually really simple. Once you put it together, you're like, okay, well, I can see exactly how that works.
Yeah,
it was worth the effort, and to have a functioning, or semi-functioning, if you like, because it's obviously not pneumatic in any way, but it's sprung. Really lent itself again to the look of the model. We didn't just want 2 pieces of wire dangling down. We wanted to give it a tougher look than that, and it works. So we're pleased with that. One other thing, Andre, you'll know the plastic straps that hold the main landing gear on. We'll be doing a hop-up part of those. We've actually got some CNC aluminium straps that you can use in place of the plastic ones.
Oh wow!
If you're really going hard, you can upgrade to those ones, and they won't break. You'll destroy the model before you destroy those.
Wow!
Sure.
So which straps are those?
They're the main plastic ones that hold on the. If you flip the Tundra over.
Oh, okay. So they're where everything loads into, so you'll be able to remove the plastic and glue in the aluminum.
Yeah, so there's a hop up for metal ones coming very soon after release.
Wow! If you're damaging the plastic ones, you're probably flying really good. Then.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I did, but I was flying it really hard, and then I just thought, well, let's do a little optional extra here, and it's worked out well.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the big important question that everybody's kind of asking here on the chat too: do we have a price point for this thing yet?
We don't have a solid one, but if you look from the international warehouse, and then if you compare international to regionals, it should be anything from around 150 or 60 to 200, 210. Now that's including the floats,
right.
That's including the big boonie tires, that's including the FPV canopy, and then the skis are optional. So for a 1300 mil or a 50-inch plug and fly, it's like high wing sports model that's as good as this. We're really quite pleased with that. Wow. But yeah, you're looking around sub to slightly over the $200. We don't know yet. It could be more. It could be less. Right. It will be less. It should be less if you have a platinum membership. You should get a little bit of a reduction in price there as well at some point after release. So we think it's right on the money, if you pardon the pun.
That's a great price point. That's right. Yeah, for sure. Fantastic.
Certainly compared to others out there. And then there's the toe mounting point. It is a mounting point. It's a hard point. It's essentially, we've got a system where it enables you to tie your tow rope around the spar without removing.
Oh, hang on, Andre, and I'll show it.
There we go. Yep.
So obviously the onus is on the release system being on the glider, which, to be fair, it always should be anyway. You don't want to be dragging around a piece of tow rope on your glider. It just it kills your lift and your performance. But that said, we do have a glider coming in the next couple of months.
The Tundra and the glider. Stuart, you're up
come on, Stuart. Come on.
You'll see it. You'll see it in the Tundra video. You'll see a little tease of it.
Oh, now I'm really excited.
Everybody knows what to tease.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, you're talking to after hours guys. Yeah, you hit us where we live.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, that's great. Is there anything else here before we wrap it up that you wanted to add at all, Stuart? If not, we'll.
No, I just want to say thank you again for having me. Sorry, I'm just paying for this taxi now.
No problem.
No problem.
I really enjoyed it. Last time I was on at Christmas time, and it was nice getting a question from your listeners. As I said before, they're our customers too, and it's really nice to thank you. It's really nice to be able to reach out on this medium. Just give me 1 second. I'm not finished yet. I just want to get out of this taxi.
No rush. Yeah.
They're very aggressive on their horns.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong. I'm gonna say thank you.
No problem.
That's it. Right. Okay. Now to the coffee shop.
The important stuff.
That's right.
It worked out really well.
Yeah.
So, Andre, I hope you continue to enjoy. Chris, I'm not sure if you had a go yet. I'm sure you will get a go at some point soon. On the Tundra.
Yeah, actually, we're going to let Andre have his fun with that one and keep that. And we'll Wayne and I think we're just going to actually probably end up buying one.
Yep.
And so we can do a little testing ourselves.
All right. Fantastic. Well, if there's any more feedback from you guys or any of your listeners as well, they can actually email me. It's very simple email address. It's just durafly@hobbyking.com.
Okay.
Nice little plug there.
Yep.
And any questions or any customer service questions related to Durafly or anything like that, I can field those questions there. That's not a problem.
All right. And again, we got to thank you, Stuart. I know we had a little confusion in the beginning, but it actually worked out. We made it. I think it was really good.
Yep.
Well, Stuart, Aaron Blake wants to know, how do you take your coffee?
I take it strong at this time in the morning.
Yeah, there you go. A new dad, right? So,
tell me about it.
Colors. Ryan said red, but we said that was done. But he said, "Oh, what about orange?" And so that might work. Green and orange.
Green orange, yeah. I mean, I think we'll probably do it in the same pattern, the same scheme.
Oh,
change the color up. I mean, it worked for the EFX. The different colors there.
Well, we know yellow's faster.
Well, yeah, it actually was, wasn't it? Yeah. Trick of the light. I think if the demand is there, we'll be more than happy to do that. We were considering, this is an interesting question for your guys as well. We were considering a kit version. What do you think the reaction?
I think you should do it because that's how a lot. That's how I got into my Fun Cub, because I had a crashed aircraft with a motor and ESC that was still good.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think a lot of people will want to do that mod. Yeah, kit, yes. So there you go. There's your market research.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Wait,
I think.
Go ahead.
Stuart, the glider. Is there a wingspan on that? Do we know of yet?
It's bigger than the Tundra. And it's smaller than a 2-meter south plane, so somewhere in between that. Yeah. In all honesty, it's a little early in the morning, and I can't remember to be fair. But I think it's around 17 or 1800 mil. But I keep getting told off for giving too many things away. So I've probably already said too much already.
That's all right.
Yeah. But that'll be out in the summer. We hope. So look out for that as a companion to the Tundra.
Most excellent. I think the guys know what we're going to be doing this summer at Flight Fest now.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll take over the end of the field.
All right, Stuart. We won't want to keep you too long. We want you to get your coffee and enjoy the rest of your day there on Monday. Again, we really appreciate you coming on, getting in depth. I think for the hobbyists and the listeners, they really like and grasp how much effort and everything you guys are putting into these planes and everything, and we appreciate it too. So we just got to say thank you, and we hope in the future we can do this again. Get some new products out. Maybe we can help you out, review them, test them, get you back on the podcast to talk about it. And I think it's a great segment.
And then actually, I mean, there's other people as well. It's not just me. We've got the other guys that do the multi-rotor stuff as well. There's Warhawk and there's Chris.
Yep.
Maybe we can bring those guys on board as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm knowledgeable in planes and I know about multi-rotors, but those guys are the experts and they've got a wealth of super nerd knowledge, as we like to call it.
Yes, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well,
yes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Yes.
Thanks for everybody hanging out with us live here on YouTube. So go check it out. The Tundra will be live Wednesday, January 27th. Look for the teasers coming out Monday, which we're almost there now.
Oh, yeah.
From Hobbyking. And we will talk to everyone soon. All right.
Thanks a lot, Stuart.
Thanks, Stuart. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Andre, thanks for all the testing and everything you did on that. And we'll touch base here soon. All right. Thank you, Stuart. We'll talk to you soon.
You're more than welcome, gents.
Thank you, Stuart.
Take care.
I need to get my coffee now.
Right,
Bye.
take care. All right, so we're out of here. We're gonna let
you. We made it.
I don't know how it worked out, but it is late here. I got to get out of here pronto and go get my kids. So thank you for hanging out with us, Andre. I will talk to you soon. Wayne, thank you for coming down, hanging out. I know we didn't have a lot going on there for a while, but I think it turned out good. We had a good time. And
I'll help you pack up and put things away.
Yep,
we can get out of here.
We'll get out of here.
Thank you, guys.
We will talk to everybody soon. See you later.
See you guys.
Bye.